and share my screen. Can you guys see that? Yes. Okay, awesome. All right. So just before I kind of get started, I wanted to say a few things. Obviously, my trip was 3.5 months, so I can't, share everything in this short little time. But so here's my email. Definitely encourage you guys, if you have questions about specific things like throughout, or just you want to learn more about something or just talk to me more about something, you can email me or call me or whatever. And then I also have a screenshot on here of my Facebook. My mom suggested this idea for people who aren't familiar with Facebook. I posted about my trip every day on there and kind of gave a summary of what I did. And I have a lot more details on there. A lot of things that we go through, I'm probably not going to remember the name. Some of them I definitely will, but some of them, I'm not going to remember the exact history or facts behind it because it was just so much. But I did put it on there most likely on Facebook. So definitely check that out, just as a heads up. And I think hopefully, I don't know the timing on this exactly, but hopefully if anybody does have questions, they can type it in the chat here in Zoom if they know how to do that. If we have time, I guess we'll see, but yeah, I think that's basically it. So for those of you that don't know, I went on a cross-cultural, which is the school that I go to, EMU. It's their version of study abroad. It's what they call a study abroad. And so I traveled with a group of 26 students total, with leaders from EMU. Their names were Justin and Amanda Poole. And each of the cross-culturals at EMU kind of have a theme. And so the theme for this trip was theater and art, and kind of surrounded a lot around the arts because they like to relate the places that we're visiting to as much of the academic stuff that they can. So there's a lot of theater and history and art in the places that we visited. So Justin is the theater director at EMU, and his wife Amanda, so we travel with them and their 3 small kids, which was an interesting experience, definitely challenging at sometimes to travel with 3 little ones. I think they're 4, 5, and 7. So yeah, but we went all over Europe, and then our last 2 weeks were in Morocco. So to just kind of start out, for the people that, the first question that I often get is, where did you go? And it's not like a simple answer that I can give people like, oh, we went to Germany, because that's not really how the trip went. So this is for those people that actually want to know exactly where we went, and I put the dates and everything. I'm not going to read the dates, obviously, but we started our trip in Salzburg, Austria. We were there for a week, and we did a day trip to Germany. And then we went on to Vienna, Austria, and that was the bulk of our trip. We were there for 2 months. And since we were able to settle down there, that was where we could do lots of weekend trips or day trips. So we got to go to actually Budapest and Slovakia too, while in Vienna. And then we moved on to Prague for a week. Then I went to Paris for 3 days, and then we had a time period of what we called free travel. My dad likes to remind me that it was not free, but that's what we called it. So we had the option to travel with like 2 other people and go wherever we wanted. So I went to Spain for 4 days, and then our whole group met back up again in Venice. That was actually on the day of the crazy flooding, the worst flooding in 50 years. So I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then we went to Florence for a little bit. Then I had another period of free travel where I stayed in Italy. Others chose to go elsewhere, but yeah, I stayed and went to Pisa and Naples. And then our whole group met up in Rome. We were in Rome for 4 days and then flew to Lisbon, Portugal. And from Portugal, we went to Marrakesh. And so we were there for a few days and then had a desert excursion. So we had a desert camp in the Sahara for a night. And we were on this excursion for, I think, yeah, it's 4 days there. Then we moved on to Fez for a week, and then Tetuan, and then Casablanca. So that's like the overview. Obviously, that's kind of overwhelming, and I'm not gonna obviously expect people to remember that, but just to give it for those that want it. And then the next slide, I had our whole group had to do a presentation for our school as soon as we got back, like the next day. So we had to put something together really quick for a 30-minute thing. And we had one of my classmates, he made a video that's kind of like inspired by the whole Indiana Jones map thing. And so we decided that'd be a good way to show for those visual people. So I contacted him and had him slow down the video. I don't think you'll be able to hear the music, but that doesn't matter. So this is just for visual. If I can. Yeah, it'd be a lot better with Indiana Jones music, but just can't hear it. And obviously he doesn't have every little place we went, but he covered pretty much the whole map of the trip. Yep, so then we flew back to Paris and then back to, so I thought that'd be fun to kind of put in there. Let me see. I'm gonna go out of here. There we go. So the next question that I got a lot and I figured I should just include was, you know, where did you go and then what did you study? And again, I couldn't give people a simple answer because these are the names of the classes that I took. And I don't know if you can see, but they're really long titles and I can never remember the names of them. So I thought I'd just put it in here. It's just the titles and then short descriptions. I know it's a lot of words to go over, but basically we took a theater kind of class, I would say, and then history, art history, religion, yeah, a lot about cultural identity and stuff. All of these classes were taught by my professor Justin, which was unique about something that EMU does is that you travel with your professor and it's not like you necessarily study always at a university wherever you go. So he taught all of these classes except the German language. I actually took that in Vienna. We studied at the AAIE, which is the Austro-American Institute. And so we had German teachers there that we took German class with them. So yeah, let me back. And then this is just an overall kind of like summary of what school was like for me. It definitely was not typical school. I didn't write any papers or take any tests. A lot of it was obviously experiencing the places that we went and then reflecting on those experiences. So I have a reading list here of the materials that we had to read for the trip, if those of you like are interested in kind of what we looked into. And then, yeah, so we did a lot of readings and then reflections, and a big bulk of our homework too was going to performances, again, theater kind of theme, and reviewing those performances and reflecting on them as a group and individually. As a side note, I kind of put in here, we also did a lot of sketchbook stuff too. So on the slides as we go on, I'll have something on the side that says scavenger hunt for whatever place that we went. And that was a part of our homework, was each new city we went, we had the scavenger hunt. We had to go and find these different items and sketch them and reflect on them. So yeah, I thought it'd be cool to kind of put that in there, and you could see kind of the things that we sketched. I'm not going to share my sketches because I'm not an artist and they're terrible, but yeah, they were very rough sketches for me, but yeah, it was still a lot of fun. So this is like one of my favorite things to share. As part of our presentation for that we did at EMU as a whole group, we compiled some stats just for fun to present. And so I'll just kind of read these off quick. But we visited 17 countries collectively. So I didn't visit 17 countries. I think I visited 15 or 16. But as a whole group, you know, with the free travel and stuff, it was 17. And then 48 cities and towns we visited, and 10 of those were actually former capitals of empires, which I thought was pretty cool. We went and saw a total of 21 performances. Definitely a lot of performances. The next one really stands out to me. We took roughly 1.3 million steps, which equates to around 712 miles per person walked. And it sticks out to me because walking was a huge part of the trip. People think, you know, we visited 17 countries, that's kind of crazy, but I mean, that also means we did a lot of walking, and, you know, we got up early in the morning and we walked all day until really late at night. So that definitely stands out to me too. And then the stairs too, climbed around 2,300 flights of stairs. I feel like that's too small. I feel like it felt like a lot more than 2,300 flights of stairs. But yeah. And then we visited 47 religious buildings, and that includes, you know, synagogues, mosques, churches, cathedrals. We attended a lot of services as well, all different types of varieties. I'll talk just a little bit about exposure to other faiths. I don't know how much I'll be able to get into it, but the next one's cool too. We had 30 tour guides total over the whole trip. That stands out because we had a lot of tours. Like, that was a way that we learned, was we had a tour guide and they walked us around the city and told us the facts and stuff. And so it was cool because we actually had a guy on our trip that made it like a goal for himself to make a note about each tour guide. So he like noted like, oh, that tour guide had a really bright yellow raincoat that day, and that's how he remembered it. It was really cool. And it's awesome because I remember our tour guides too for little random things as well. But the next one is a personal statistic that I wanted to put in there as just like a reminder that I can't share all the photos that I took. I took roughly 10,000 pictures. It was a lot of photos, but yeah, and visited 16 museums. The Pringles thing was basically when we got to Morocco, but also in Europe too. I don't know why, but Pringles just was like, they tasted so good to our group, and we just loved them. I don't know if it's because we were missing American food a little bit. I really don't know, but we ate a lot of Pringles. Like, I think I ate several cans in one day at one point. So we put, I don't know how they came up with this number, but 53 cans of Pringles. We came into contact with 5 currencies. That was cool. The farthest north we traveled was Calais in Scotland. I did not go to Scotland, but another small group did. And then the farthest south was Merzouga, Morocco, and our whole group did go there. The wettest place was obviously Venice during the flooding. And then the driest place was obviously the Sahara Desert, two pretty different extremes there. And then those are just some stats for transportation, how far we drove and went by train and plane. So these are pictures of me saying goodbye. That was definitely a hard day for sure, an emotional day. You can see, I'll put my pointer on here. My mom is like very much holding back major tears. But yeah, it was definitely scary. I mean, there was a lot of unknowns going. I'd never left the country before. Didn't really know the people in my group very well at all. I knew one girl, but not that close. So, you know, just a lot, very, very overwhelming. But obviously I came home and everything was good. So yeah. So Salzburg was the first place, obviously. Here's the scavenger hunt that I was talking about. If you guys kind of want to read some of the stuff that we had to sketch. I figured that the best way to, I thought so much about like what format I should do for this presentation. It's just hard to decide the best way to explain it. So I figured the best way to kind of keep it me talking about my perspective of these places and what I think of when I think of where I visited. I just thought of like 3 words or like key phrases that came to my mind when I thought of that time. And so for Salzburg, the first one I put was emotional roller coaster because that was 100% true. I don't think I really prepared myself for like the fact when I got there, and then it was like, okay, Anna, you have to do this now. Like you have to be gone for 100 some days and you have to, you know, you have to push through and do it. I definitely don't think I prepared myself enough for that. So it was an emotional roller coaster, a lot of ups and downs, but it was also very picturesque and very memorable. Like I think all of us really enjoyed Salzburg and our time, even though it was so short and just the beginning of, you know, this whole journey that we had together. I definitely commend my leaders, Amanda and Justin, for the way that they planned the trip. They put so much thought into it. And Salzburg was the best starter city. It's a really small city compared to, I think it's the smallest of any of the places we visited, really. And so that was a great first place to visit. Salzburg was meant to push us, but also prepare us for the rest of the trip. So as soon as we got there, we had a 2-hour walking tour to prepare us for the lots of walking. And then they took us to the middle of the city after the tour, and they said, you know, all right, we're gonna go and you're gonna find your way back to the hotel by yourself. Because we had to, you know, learn how to navigate really well, and especially in a foreign place with the foreign language. We definitely had to learn public transportation so well because there was always a chance where you couldn't find someone that spoke English right away to help you. So yeah, and it, you know, it went okay. Salzburg is, again, really easy to navigate. We did lots of sightseeing and tours. I went to the Hellbrunn Palace and the Trick Fountains. I don't know if anyone is familiar with that, but that was cool. We did hikes and excursions. And then I'm just gonna go ahead into pictures because it's the best way to do this. I won't describe every picture because I know we'll be here forever if I do that. So I'll just kind of go through little things. Let me see. I guess I forgot to put the closed captioning on. Becky, do you think I should do that or just leave it? Just leave it, okay. Can everyone see this little red dot, okay? All right. So this is where we stayed up here in the top, Haus Wartenberg. and it's a really cool place. Definitely check out my Facebook for more pictures and details on it. It's a hotel from the 1600s, so it's got so much history, really old, so cool. Salzburg is obviously where parts of The Sound of Music were filmed, so we learned a lot about that. Down here is the gates. Oh, this little bar is going to be in the way. I don't know if you're familiar with The Sound of Music, but the abbey that Maria stays at, those are the gates there. That's me at the gates. And then this up here is the steps that they sing on, if you remember that from the movie. This is the fountain that's also in the movie. This here is Cafe Tomaselli. That's Mozart's cafe. He actually went there, which was really cool. And that's me in Cafe Tomaselli down here, enjoying, it's called an iced chocolate. It's basically one of the only non-coffee drinks, because I'm not a coffee drinker, actually. This here is the oldest known restaurant in Europe, opened in 803, actually. Really cool. And then just other cool things. This over here is Mozart's violin and the room that he was born. That's what that says here. And then his hair, actually. I got to go to his birth house, and they had a lot of cool things in there about Mozart. There's like so many cool on him. Like, he actually has an ear like deformity. He had an ear deformity, and so did his father, which, I don't know, just a random cool thing. And then this is like a really old bread mill over here I visited. Yeah, this, oh, I gotta talk about pancake soup. This over here is pancake soup. One of the first things I ate, it really is broth with strips of pancake in it, and it's so good. We had pancake soup a lot in Austria. And then down in the bottom corner here, this was my first Wiener Schnitzel. Really good. I was surprised. I'm not a huge meat eater, but I enjoyed Wiener Schnitzel very much. And it always came with lemon and some cranberry. Yeah. So this is more of Salzburg. We did a day trip to a place called Großglockner. It's basically a scenic road that you can drive. And we went on a boat another day to this place over here. This was our day trip to Germany. Let's see, what else? Just more cathedrals and churches we visited. This down here in the corner is a group photo of us. Actually, when we did the day trip to Germany, we went to a salt mine, and that was so much fun. We actually rode these little carts into the mine, and then they had us take these slides, like literal slides like you would see on a playground, down into the mine. It was really cool. We had those like jumpsuits on, and then at one point there was like a boat that you took across the water in the mine. I would definitely encourage you guys to look that up, because it was an awesome part of the trip for sure. And then this here, we hiked, this is called the Untersberg mountain, the third day of our trip. So like I said, Salzburg was meant to push us and prepare us for the rest of the trip. So it really was overwhelming and a lot, but it was a good, preparation for everything that we were going to do. And this is the kind of level of trip that it was. And so Untersberg is 6,740 feet high. You have to take a cable car to get to the hike itself. I need to X out of this so that I can see. There we go. This here is what the kind of hiking path looked like, if you can see that. And then we hiked to this cross, which is up there at the top. But the cable car ride was around 10 minutes. The cable car is roughly 4,330 feet high. And then once you get off, so it was a long ride. Going up, I was terrified. I was like, oh my gosh, because I was claustrophobic. I say was because after all the things I did in the trip, I wasn't really claustrophobic anymore. But yeah, I was going up, and then going down, it was a lot better. But I have a video here I can show you guys of me on the cable car ride. There's no sound, obviously, but it really is just, they cram you all in there and then it's like just nothing below you, way up high. It was so cool though. Really cool experience. And yeah, it's for a highlight for a lot of people, even though it was at the very beginning. So that's basically it. I don't have to show the whole thing, but so we hiked the Untersberg. We did a bunch of other stuff in Salzburg. Can't cover it all, obviously. Moving on to Vienna, the way I describe Vienna, Vienna was the big challenge, and I definitely realized that once I got there. It was the bulk of our trip, and it really was the big challenge because we actually had the opportunity to, you know, become residents of Vienna. Like we had to register to live there, and our job was to immerse ourselves in the culture and really like try and settle down and feel what it would be like to be a local there. And we definitely got the opportunity to do that. As I put, you know, the third one, it eventually became a home for me. And it's a city with everything. Again, they did a really good job planning because Vienna is just so diverse. It's split up into 23 different districts is how they have the city divided. It's a city of 8 million people. So we went from really small Salzburg to a big city. Obviously, most of you guys know me. I've never lived in a big city, never been to a big city by myself. So that was a big deal. So this here is a picture of the transportation system. We had to basically memorize that forwards and backwards because we would have to use it every day. It's called the U-Bahn. It's basically their metro. Yeah, so I lived on this little green dot here called Friedensbrücke. That's where I lived. And we'd have to transport every day to this part in the middle, Karlsplatz, which is where we had school. But we had training before where we'd have to figure out, you know, how to get from point A to point B, and then 3 other ways how to get to point A from point B in case you run into situations where, you know, one line's down or whatever. So that was a big part of it too, was navigating. So getting into pictures, this is a mixture of Vienna, Budapest, and Slovakia, because I just obviously can't share all the pictures I took. This is a group picture up here of all of us at the Vienna State Opera House. We got to go to there twice actually for 2 different operas. I went to school right across from here, so I could see the Opera House from the window every day, which was really cool. This here is the American Institute where I went to school. This lovely picture of me, we did volunteering. That was a part of our experience in Vienna as well. We volunteered with Caritas, which is this organization that works with refugees. So I actually tutored some refugees for the first part of my volunteer work, and then the second half I did painting and just a building where refugees went and some worked. So that was a really awesome experience too. I got to go to one of those cool thermal bathhouses in Budapest. There's a better picture of it down in this bottom corner, but that was awesome. This is the one, oh, these are 2 pictures I have from Slovakia here. Slovak sheep cheese is basically the big thing there, so I got to try sheep cheese. That was cool. And this picture here is neat. This is actually one of the world's smallest apartments. This little strip right here is someone's house, which I thought was pretty cool to see the kind of stark difference there. Just some more different landmarks. This is a government building in Budapest. This up here is called Karlskirche. It's a church in Vienna, really famous church. This here is a spot in Vienna. Actually, Hitler spoke here. at one point during World War II. Let's see. Famous painting, The Kiss by Gustav Klimt. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that, but that was really cool learning about art. We visited the UN building. This little bar keeps coming up, which is annoying. But that stopped down in the left bottom hand corner, us at the UN building in Vienna. So we toured that. I went to an aquarium in Vienna. This is me with a giant spider crab. That aquarium experience was really cool. And I also got to see the Lipizan stallions too in Vienna. Me and a group of girls went to see them perform, which was awesome. More pictures from Vienna. This is the Belvedere Palace. This is me jumping off at the Belvedere Palace, jumping off the stairs. This is a National Symphony we went to here in the bottom. And next to that picture is what the State Opera House looks like. Above here, this is a different theater, not the State Opera House, but just another kind of performance venue. More cathedrals and statues. I included this to kind of show the variety that Vienna had. You could go to one district and it'd be super modern architecture like this, and then you go to another one like just right down the road and it would be historical buildings like this, which is really cool. This is a Holocaust memorial statue commemorating those Jewish people that were forced to clean the streets. That was something I walked by every day in District 1, I believe. Famous Vienna Ferris wheel. That's in several movies, I believe. And then Mozart statue. These are famous original Albrecht Dürer paintings. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that either, but definitely check my Facebook about that because that was a cool experience to get to see his original things. They don't have those out all the time, and they brought those out while I was there, fortunately. And these are pictures of when I did tutoring with the kids. They told us that we'd be tutoring in English, but it was me and one other classmate, and his German, not saying anything about my German, but his German wasn't as strong as mine. So he was the one that tutored in English, and I actually had to continue tutoring in German. So I tutored some math in German, which was hard because I don't enjoy math. So doing it in a different language was interesting. And then I also worked with them a lot on grammar. These were younger children, to clarify. I think mostly Syrian refugees. But this is me. We were writing the Three Little Pigs. And then this is me just doing more grammar work with them. More photos. We went to the Butterfly House as part of our German class one time, and there's the Stephansdom Cathedral here, and the top of that, what the outside of that looks like. Schönbrunn Palace is here. This a very famous landmark in Vienna. We took a day trip one time to Melk, the town, or I don't know if it's a town or what it is, but and we visited an abbey there, and this is actually what the inside of part of the abbey looked like. This is just entirely like gold here. It's insanely extravagant. A lot of the stuff that we saw in Europe was that way. Yeah, so I think one more thing I wanted to share about Vienna was kind of the typical school day for me, because that's what a lot of people ask is, you know, what was your school day like? So basically I would get up in the morning and go to German class it would be 3 hours, and then we'd have a lunch break, and then we'd take a whole group tour to somewhere. We do like a district tour of a specific district. That was a part of our assignment we were assigned different districts to kind of tour ourselves and then present a whole tour as a group. And then we would tour a museum or a church. It was basically just a lot of sightseeing in the afternoon, and then the evening I would see a performance. So that was basically what my day would be like kind of in Vienna. The next slide, I think, yeah. I'll get into more of what my life at home was like. So we did homestays in Vienna. Obviously, we didn't stay in a hotel for 2 months. So yeah, that was an amazing experience and a big part of what Vienna really was for me, and why it became such a second home for me. So this is my host mom here. Her name's Doris. I love her dearly. So I didn't really know anything about Doris until the night that I met her. Like, the only thing that I was told the whole time coming up was that she was a retired teacher and she didn't have any pets and she had a daughter that wasn't going to be living with us. That was all I knew about her. And so I was definitely, anxious about the, time that I was going to have with her. I didn't even know if she was going to speak great English. Just was not sure. A lot of, again, unknowns there. So this is the restaurant we went the first night in Vienna where she picked us up. Yeah, and I'm biased, but I think that I had the best host mom of any of us in the whole group. She just went above and beyond. She is, when people ask me like what she's like, she's funny and she's adventurous and she's wild and hilarious. She just is so kind, and she'll do anything for you. Basically, she was very welcoming from the beginning. So this is where I lived. I think I lived like somewhere in here. And this was my room here. I had a roommate. Her name is Alexa. And then I included these pictures here. I'll explain. I didn't just randomly put in pictures of her bathroom, but this is talking about Austrian culture. So this is like what a typical shower looks like in Austria. No shower curtain. I think she like had this put in. This is what like a little sink looks like. And then this is an Austrian toilet, a typical Austrian toilet. They have what is called the poop shelf, and it is very self-explanatory. It's a part of the culture that we had to learn and understand. They're very conscious about their health there, and so all of the toilets look like that. Just random cool thing to learn, but I felt like a cultural thing to include. So yeah, that's fun. Now you know about the poop shelf. We went on a hike. She would take us out on outings. She cooked with us. Here's us making apple strudel. She did a photo shoot of us. You can see pictures of us here, but the last day we like took a whole photo shoot. This is us saying goodbye. Yeah, it was a really special time. And I still keep in touch with her. We text as much as we can. But yeah, definitely very special person. I think I have some more pictures. Yeah. This is us trying cake on our hike, and then more stuff with Doris. She taught us how to make Wiener Schnitzel. She taught us how to make this here, which is called Palette Schinken. It's like a crepe-like pancake, basically. We made those. She like hosted a party once. I'm going to put a lot of food pictures on here because I took a lot of pictures of what I ate. That was a big cultural thing. And like, it was just cool. I just tried so many different things, and it was a big part of the trip. So I felt like it was important to include. So yeah, this was typical breakfast for me. It's called Frühstück in German. Yeah, I drank a whole pot of tea in the morning. It was lots of bread and jams. Doris is a believer in everything local and organic and natural. She did not buy anything from, big corporations, did not believe in, Amazon or anything like that. Always bought local and made all of her own stuff. So we had homemade jams all the time, a lot of homemade food, which was awesome. Yeah, and she fed us this over here. muesli every morning. It's an overnight oatmeal, basically. I like swear by it now. I love eating muesli. It's so great. More Wiener Schnitzel here. I put a picture in here of pizza because over there, corn is like a staple on pizza, which is unusual, but was cool. This up here is a kebab sandwich. This is the kebab stand that was right by our U-Bahn station, so we visited there a lot. This here is a roller coaster restaurant that I visited, which you can check my Facebook for my like story on that. That was pretty cool. Yeah, just more cultural pictures. This is a pizza actually that I had in Budapest, and this is lemonade, but it's, as you can see, not really lemonade at all. It's just water with lemons in it. I thought that was funny. I say that a lot in my posts because a lot of times they took things literally. It was like we would get milkshakes, but there'd be no ice cream. It was just milk. And lemonade, just water with lemons in it. Yeah, so just unique experiences. So moving on to Prague. Prague, I'm trying to figure out the best place to sit, you guys. Okay. Prague was a big change from Vienna, for sure, a big transition. I think a lot of us were ready because we had been settled for so long in Vienna, and a lot of us were ready to move on. And I was too, even though, you know, I would miss Doris. I was ready for a new environment, and Prague was definitely that. When I think of Prague, it was cold. It was really cold. I wore like 2 pairs of pants a day to keep warm walking around. It was really very cold, but it was a lot different than Vienna with its vibe and its history. Like, just has so much history there. Not that Vienna didn't, but just different history, I guess. And yeah, it definitely gave off a more like grungy vibe than Vienna. Vienna was much more, you know, like opera, you think high class, and then you move to Prague and it's a lot more dark history there. I posted so much about the history on my Facebook if you want to learn more about that. And this is the scavenger hunt we did there. Kind of an example to give. I know that's not a great explanation of the difference between the two. We went to like a national symphony in Vienna, and it was very, very fancy and high class. And then we went to performances in Prague, and one of those performances was literally set in an old like slaughterhouse, was what the theater was. So it's just a great difference there. And the style of performances too was a lot different, a lot more abstract and just interesting, very, very cool stuff. Yeah, here it says Gothic Cathedral. That's definitely how I would describe Prague, is more like Gothic and dark, but I definitely like very much enjoyed it. Prague was super cool, and it was just beautiful. My favorite building that I saw there was actually, like, on my whole trip, was in Prague, and it's this church right here. It was my favorite building. I don't know why. It just was so beautiful, and this is a picture of it here at night. Yeah, so just some pictures of what the city looked like. This is kind of what the streets were like, and this is the astronomical clock here. Famous landmark in Prague. Charles, this is the Charles Bridge up here. A lot of stuff was named after Charles the Emperor. He was like a Bohemian king. And let's see what else. We visited a KGB museum, a spy museum, and that was really crazy experience. Our tour guide for that, he was so animated, and like it was pretty crazy. He like would demonstrate like how to use all these different spy tools and stuff throughout the tour. We weren't allowed to like photograph or video or anything, but when we walked in, like, he had the Russian national anthem like blaring. It was just like very interesting and weird and cool. Yeah, this here is a synagogue. This is one of the world's oldest synagogues, I believe. It was like, oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. It's one of the world's oldest functioning synagogues. So it still is open today. I think it's like, it's from the 1200s or something. It's crazy old. Let's see, I got my portrait done by a street artist there in my free time. That was really cool. I just sat down and he did it in like 20 minutes. It was pretty amazing. Yeah. One of the big events, I guess, that we did in Prague was we visited a concentration camp, Terezín. So I have a few pictures here. I didn't share all of them, obviously. I wrote a lot about that on Facebook. That was definitely a very interesting and powerful experience for sure. I'm very grateful that we did visit there. Pretty eye-opening stuff to actually, you know, be there and walk through these places and hear what happened to people there. And yeah, it was definitely hard. And I know a lot harder for some of us than others. But it was good. And yeah, very, very grateful that we got to do that. So these here in the middle are pictures from Terezín. Super interesting history there. One of the last camps to be liberated in like late August of 1945, I think. So yeah, I have a lot more about that on there. Obviously not a great mixture of pictures here with the concentration camp and then some other things, but you know, I'm just trying to share as much as I can. We visited a monastery as well, and this is a picture of the library inside that monastery, which was so amazing. I was super excited to do that. And just some more weird random things about Prague. This is like a puppet shop, and this is like what the stores would look like with the little Russian dolls. Yeah, just very different, unique vibe. And I put this in here. This is the transportation system to kind of show you the difference between that and Vienna. And kind of, yeah, just how much easier it looks to me than the one from Vienna. Food in Prague. Didn't have much except chimney cakes was a big thing. That's a dessert. I don't think it originated in Prague, but we had a lot of chimney cakes in Prague. This is what it looks like. It's hard to describe. It's not really like a funnel cake, but yeah, I don't know. I guess that's kind of like what the texture is like, but it can be filled with whatever you want. This is one of my classmates, Lily, with her huge chimney cake full of ice cream down there. So you could have ice cream or Nutella or whatever inside it. And they had lots of candy stores all over Prague, like crazy candy stores. And they did actual like art pieces of art made out of candy in these candy stores, and you could like go back and see the different ones each day. So this is just one that I took a picture of one time of Starry Night, obviously, but I thought that was cool. I included this to show kind of currency. This is Czech crowns here is what they call it. And this is like one of our receipts from our meals. So they don't do separate bills over there. It's always a collective bill. They don't separate it out for you, or at least they never did for us. So it was really interesting to figure out how to pay a collective bill in a foreign currency. You can see there that our total is 2,335 Czech crowns. Obviously that's not $2,335, a lot different amounts there, but yeah, I thought that was interesting to include. And just random things like this, these are chocolate tools. Like, I don't even understand. It was just at like a market, and this guy had objects to scale and like size and everything, but made entirely out of chocolate. Like he'd have like a camera that was huge, but it was just out of chocolate. I don't know, but weird thing about Prague. So then we moved on to Paris for 3 days. So Paris for me was one of my highlights of the whole trip, for sure. It was a surprise for me because for some reason I was expecting it to be like Times Square in New York City. Like from what I'd heard about Paris, I had heard, it was really loud, so noisy and so crowded and so many people and just like a huge crazy city. So when we were on our way there, I was preparing myself for that. I was preparing myself for something like Times Square, but it's not. Paris is not New York. Anyone that ever tries to say that doesn't, in my opinion, know what they're talking about, because Paris is not New York in any way. It's definitely magical and beautiful. That was my experience with it for sure. I also went in November. So if anyone ever wants to visit Paris, I recommend not, if you can, in the peak season, because it's such a different experience. I know, like, my boyfriend Jacob, he went to Paris, and what he talks about his experience with Paris is just so different from mine. Like, you'll see in the pictures, like, I could walk in the streets and there'd be no one. It was just empty and quiet and just beautiful. It was definitely, like I wrote, a breath of fresh air for me at this point in the trip. It was a lot of fun. Paris was actually, quote, on our own. We didn't have anything to do with our leaders. They kind of sent us off, and you can see here our homework was to visit all these locations whenever we wanted. So this was basically what was expected of us for Paris. So just into some pictures. This is, let's see, gotta figure out where to put you guys. Me at Sainte-Chapelle there, the Louvre here, and then me with the Mona Lisa, of course. That was really neat. The Eiffel Tower, that was amazing. I wrote about that on my Facebook page, and the first night that I saw the Eiffel Tower was a reason that there's a story there, and there was a reason why it was the highlight. So I definitely recommend you guys reading about that. I won't explain everything now. Arc de Triomphe, just more kind of landmarks here. This is, I think, at the top of the arc, a picture I took. Just a lot of fun. This is us at the top of the Eiffel Tower. This is the Musée d'Orsay Museum in Paris. Really neat. This here kind of shows you what the streets were like for me. I wanted to put that in there so like you could kind of see, because that's really what it was. It's just a totally different experience. I felt like I really got to see what just like normal life was like for people that lived there too, which was neat. And just some more artwork that I saw. I actually got to eat at the restaurant in the Eiffel Tower. It's on like the first level when you go up. So this is what the restaurant looked like. It's really cool. So yeah, amazing. And I also got to eat a grilled cheese next to the Notre Dame, which was awesome. When we first got there, we like visited and we just stopped at this little cafe right next to it. Obviously the grilled cheese looks a little different than our grilled cheese. It's like on the outside versus the inside, which was interesting. But yeah, just more pictures. My first like Parisian crepe and pastry. They were selling champagne at the top of the Eiffel Tower when we went up. It was like crazy expensive. I think it was like 15 euros for a glass or something. So I thought I'd put that in there for fun, but that was crazy too. So going on to free travel, I went to Barcelona for 4 days. Obviously a big change culturally too from what I had seen thus far. But it was so much fun. We did lots of different things. I took a cooking class and learned how to make paella, which is what you see down here in the bottom. And we also like blowtorched our own like creme brulee type desserts, and I learned how to make sangria, which was awesome. We went sailing on the Mediterranean. We went to a like Barcelona football game, which was awesome. I actually got to see Messi score like 3 goals or something. Was crazy. I'm not even a soccer person, and I was lucky enough to do that. So that was awesome. Went to Tibidabo, which is the highest point in Barcelona, which is the picture you see here. This is Tibidabo. And Park Güell, went there too. Went to the Magic Fountain show. That was awesome. Yeah, this here is interesting. Picture to explain. We stayed in Las Ramblas, is where me and 2 other girls, it was the 3 of us traveling together, decided to stay. And that was a great decision for the location. Las Ramblas is right kind of a main plaza and around a lot of things. But it was a poor decision because it was very noisy, and Spain has nightlife and obviously a very different schedule than we were used to. We ate dinner at like around 10 p.m. And yeah, it was really quiet, like the early hours in the morning and like lunch. That was the only time it was really quiet. So we actually, where we stayed one night, it was very noisy. I had earplugs and like 2 sweatshirts around my head, and like still wasn't even close to being quiet. And this was actually what our wall, someone did that to our wall in the night. And we don't know who it was, but we woke up the next morning and saw it, and we were like, oh my goodness, that's what that crazy noise was. That sounded like a sledgehammer or something. But yeah, it was all good. We were safe, but it was a very interesting experience for sure. And then this here, I'll explain this. I thought this would be fun too, kind of include, so these here, this is a screenshot of what my Apple Watch looks like. And so I thought I'd include this to kind of talk more about the walking of the trip. So this was to show like a typical day basically for us. You can see, you know, how far we walked and how many steps we took and how many flights of stairs we climbed. It was funny because I wore my watch every day, and I would just get these notifications that I had completed my, you know, whole ring of activity, but like 4 times over already. And I would just get all these awards. Down here you can see the like awards. I don't even know what any of them meant, but it was like, yay, you've met your goal of, you know, 3 times over. And I was just like, okay. But I thought that'd be fun to include. You can see how many like calories I burned and how long we exercised. Like I stood 15 out of 12 hours. Long days, but like definitely worth it and lots of fun. And we got to see so many amazing things. So over here, this is just pictures of more of what like the markets look like in Spain, just random things. Weird, I don't even know what these organs are or the seafood or anything. Don't ask me, because I don't know, and I didn't try it, but and then just, yeah, I think this is all candy here, but yeah. So now moving on to my second free travel, was in Pisa and Naples. It was a lot of fun. I would say personally my least favorite place was Naples. A lot of reasons it wasn't as great was because of weather. We just didn't have the best weather in Italy. It rained pretty much the whole time we were there, hence the flooding in Venice and everything. But it was still very interesting. And Naples, I'm glad we went there because I did get to see what I feel like authentic Italian culture was and what it was like to live there. Like I feel like I was grateful to see that too, because it's not a major like tourist area, I would say, especially the center city parts here. You can kind of see it's more dirty, it's more grungy. It definitely is. But we still went and saw places like Pompeii, the tourist spots. We tried to see Mount Vesuvius, did not get there. Actually, there's an interesting story behind that too. We actually ended up getting stranded on Mount Vesuvius and had to find transportation down because of the bad weather. I also talked about that on Facebook too. So yeah, just unanticipated challenges, but also adventures too. There's a lot of random things we would just run into, like this castle up here. We didn't plan to visit this at all. We were just walking and ran into it. Pompeii was really neat, and so was Pisa too. It was very like quaint and quiet and just really cool. We stayed right outside the Leaning Tower, and it was, yeah, very, very awesome. So yeah, that was part of Italy. What I think of when I think of Italy is rain. It rained so much. It rained a lot. And like I had already talked about, there's a lot of unanticipated challenges and adventures at the same time, but it was also dreamlike too. There were definitely several moments I had there, especially in like Rome, when I got to see like the Colosseum and just the Roman ruins and stuff that were very dreamlike for me and surreal. And then I put gelato on there too because I eat a lot of gelato. So when I think about Italy, I think about gelato. Very awesome. I love gelato so much. Yeah. So into pictures, these are pictures from Venice, which I have a lot more on Facebook, obviously. I wore around these little boots. There was around 6 to 7 feet of water, I'd say, in the streets. That was in after the initial like storm. The next morning, like when it got to like noon and past, it had definitely receded a lot. But at one point there was that much water in the streets for sure. This up here is what our hotel looked like. That was like shortly after we had gotten there. So the water went up a lot more than that. It was like in the elevators and everything. It was pretty crazy. Yeah, and so I did go out and walk around the city the next day when it was safe enough to. And it was cool seeing the sights, and Venice is really beautiful and aged. But I also felt sad too because you know, I was just this tourist, but these people, their property, you know, was destroyed, and I did feel bad because a lot of people lost a lot of stuff through that flooding. And back here, I didn't say, but this is an article about like the most updated version or updated news on the flooding that happened in November and what they're doing. They're trying to put up floodgates now. I'm seeing if that will work. So I put that in there for people to kind of look if they wanted. I went on a gondola ride. Even I still was able to do that. That was cool. That's me up here. These are some pictures from Florence, obviously, too, and the Statue of David. A lot of cool facts about that. This here is the Uffizi Gallery, if I could get, yeah, there in the bottom left corner. Yeah, it was very crazy to think about now. When we were there, it wasn't, you know, feeling like, oh wow, we're in this moment of history that's like, wow, everyone's watching Venice right now. It didn't really feel like that. But now looking back, it's like, that's pretty crazy that I was there at that moment. Yeah. So just more pictures from Italy, the Trevi Fountain, Colosseum, famous statues. This is a Bernini statue, and this is a famous, it's like called the Four River Fountain. I have more like history on that specifically and Facebook. We did like a day excursion horseback riding in Tuscany, and we did a professional wine tasting. That was really interesting experience. Obviously I went and saw the Sistine Chapel all through, yeah, the Vatican. We got to visit the Borghese Gallery, which is a very high-end, like famous gallery. Not as much of a tourist area, but I talk about that too on my Facebook. Yeah, I think that's it. For food, a lot of gelato pictures in here because I had gelato a lot. I think I had it like 5 times in one day at one point because it's just so great, and it's cheap too. It was like €1 for, you know, a couple scoops. So this is the best pizza I ever had in Rome, and I had like this huge this was called Mount Vesuvio. This was a pizza I ordered in Naples, and I didn't even realize that it was going to actually look like the Mount Vesuvius, but it was like a double dough pizza. It was crazy. This is like a typical like supermarket in Naples. Like we would go shopping for dinner, and that's what it looks like. So it's just so different here versus there. I mean, so much fresh stuff. Yeah. Okay, so I'm getting there. Sorry, thank you for hanging in there with me. To Morocco. So Morocco was definitely beyond my wildest dreams. I had this vision, like I had this vision of Morocco, but it definitely exceeded it. Like it felt like it was the place that was as close to how I had envisioned it, but still just like beyond my dreams too of just how, yeah, how cool it was of a cultural experience. It was also definitely terrifying and nerve-wracking at times. It was a big change going from being in Europe for 89 days to Morocco. Obviously that was the first time that I was ever in a place where I stood out, and the people that lived there, you know, they looked a lot different than I did. I couldn't blend in as well as I could in Europe. And so I learned a lot of things about haggling in the markets, a lot about, yeah, just what it's like to be a tourist, especially a young woman who's a tourist, and a lot of the places that we visited. But I'm so grateful for the experience because Morocco is so cool. And like I was describing, it's the first place that I felt I was really beyond myself, which was, yeah, cool. So pictures of Morocco, very different than Europe. Lots of different architecture and lots of colors. This up here is a leather tannery in Fez. Ooh, we've got, am I talking too much? Favorite flavor of gelato? Ooh, I'll just answer that really quickly. Probably Nutella, I would say. That's really lame, but because I tried so many, but they had like fresh fruit ones, like strawberry banana. But they had weird ones too, like aloe vera was a gelato flavor that they had. Weird, but cool. That was just one of the ones I remembered, but they had all different kinds. So probably Nutella and cinnamon mixed together. Those were ones I really liked. Yeah, so jumping back, this is a leather tannery in Fez. That was really cool. It was part of our tour, and they walked us through this leather store, and then behind it was this whole tannery, and they gave us this mint at the door of, like, in front of the store, and I was like, what is this for? I was like, I don't understand this. And then you get back to the leather tannery, and it's like overwhelming with this smell. I didn't obviously know what that was going to be like, but the mint I don't think helped me a lot. It was very strong smell, and I just can't even imagine. You can see people in this picture, but their job would to be in these tubs all day, like working, and it's just insane labor. And another one of those experiences where I'm just beyond myself and thinking about how it is for someone like that day-to-day life. So this is some from our desert excursion here. We visited this village, and this man had a pet fox, which was kind of crazy. I put in pictures of like what the streets would look like with all the lanterns and everything. Here's like a shoe store, excuse me. And then this is the main square in Marrakesh. called Jama Elfna. I don't think I'm pronouncing that perfectly, but obviously so different than Europe. This here is a snake charmer. The snake's right here. It's hard to get a picture of those because they come at you with the snakes and they're like, hold it, take a picture with it. So then you have to pay for that, obviously. So it was really hard to try to capture a picture, you know, with staying away from the snakes because I didn't want to get near those. But yeah, I saw crazy things. I think when we first got there, I saw a man selling real teeth, like human teeth, in the market. He just had this like table and it was just covered with all these teeth, and there's just like some pliers, and then it was just crazy. So many different smells every step that you took in the markets and streets. This here is a picture of a riad. That's where we stayed in Morocco, in different riads, and they're basically hotels. They're designed with like a courtyard and a garden in the middle, and then like all the windows and stuff face that courtyard and garden. There's a lot more history and stuff behind the design. We learned a lot about the architecture and the music and everything. There just seems to be a reason behind, you know, every little detail, which is cool. And I really enjoyed that. This is what our tents looked like. So we weren't roughing it. It was like glamping in the desert. It was amazing. I did actually have running water, and we had a music concert. We like danced by the fire. We rode camels into our camp at sunset. So this here is one of the camels, and like a picture of us on the as a whole group. Yeah, this is some of the Sahara and the sunset. Yeah, the desert camp was one of my favorites as well. We got to, that was the first time I'd seen actual parts of the Milky Way, and it was just amazing. It's indescribable, really. Yeah, like I said, we learned a lot about the music. We had several private music concerts, which was cool. I went to like a secret garden place. That's what this is here. This picture here in the bottom is of the northernmost part of Africa. And that's just me looking out over the water. This is Chefchaouen, the Blue City. I don't know if anyone has heard of that or not, but it's a pretty famous touristy place. That was cool to see too. And some of us did sunrise yoga actually in the desert, which was awesome. Food, I have so many pictures of Moroccan food because Moroccan food is amazing, and I was, pleasantly surprised. A typical Moroccan dish is called tagine, and that's what this is up here. It's basically a stew. All of the meals there we ate were family style. So we just, all eat kind of in the center. Tagine, the like traditional tagine, is lamb and then figs and dates, and then I think it's peanuts too. It's really good. We had all different types of tagine. After 2 weeks, I feel like there's not a huge variety in the Moroccan like staple foods, so we got to try pretty much everything, which was awesome. This is like what a typical salad looks like, which is different, with the rice, and then there's just vegetables around it. This over here is couscous. That was the first time I'd ever had couscous. I mean, people eat couscous here. Vegetable couscous here, and then with chicken and steak there. It was typical to have like a chocolate cake for breakfast, and then we always had fruit for dessert. For like every meal that they provided us, it was always oranges, or the fruit is amazing. So I thought that was a cool difference there. This is what I had for Thanksgiving actually this past year. It's quail, and I don't know what the other thing is. I don't remember what that was, but we had Thanksgiving in the desert, and that was our fancy meal, was quail. So that was the first time I had quail. Pretty cool. Moroccan mint tea is a staple. I had it so much. I definitely recommend Moroccan mint tea. It is so good. And they have it just, tea is just like such a social thing there, just like all the time. And this is a picture. We had homestays in Fez, as well as Vienna, but I unfortunately got sick while I was in Fez. They told us that around 50% of travelers to Morocco will get sick, most likely from the drinking water. We never drank the water, but I think, you know, they cook the food in it and stuff, and it's hard sometimes to avoid sickness. So within like the first 8 or 9 days of travel, 50% of travelers will get sick at some point. So I felt bad because my host mom made so many beautiful meals and I just couldn't eat them. I felt so bad, but she was amazing. She didn't speak any English whatsoever, Arabic and French, but and all I knew how to say was thank you, which is shukran in Arabic. And so I just, you know, I would just be laying in bed and she'd bring me food and I'd be like, shukran, shukran, thank you, thank you. And she did, you know, she knew I was thankful, and we just communicated that way, mostly through, you know, eye contact and other, motions. But so it was still great. She was so sweet. So that's just some of the vegetables and stuff that she made me. Yeah, I think that's it. So this is a picture of all of us before we left in Harrisonburg. And then this is our final picture when we had our final dinner in Casablanca. These aren't great pictures to show like the difference in before and after, and it's hard for people to notice that didn't go too. But they're definitely, I think you could see a difference after 3.5 months. This guy here in the front, he had like a beard. He had a full beard after. He just looked so different, but you can't see him in this picture. He's like way back here. But yeah, so we definitely got a lot closer. It took a while for all of us to bond, but we will always have, you know, this journey that we share, which is pretty cool bond. This is pictures of me coming home. Awesome moment. I definitely anticipated that moment for so long. It's like crazy thinking about, you know, one moment for like a really long time and then it finally happening. So it was definitely very happy moment. Lots of my friends came to see me and family, and it was just great. Yeah. And I have in here personal highlights that I was going to talk about. I already mentioned Paris and then the desert tour, but this place at the top, Altmünster and Gmunden, Austria, that was a place that I visited with a classmate of mine one weekend that we had free while we were in Vienna. And it was just this unexpected thing that turned out to be one of the most beautiful places ever. And I have pictures here of what it looks like. Let me move this out of the way. Yeah, so it is so beautiful. We wanted to visit Hallstatt, and so she had booked us a place in Altmünster, and we thought that Altmünster was close to Hallstatt, close enough to just travel there. So we went on train, you know, we were prepared and everything. We thought we were ready. We got there and we figured out that Altmünster is like an hour and something away from Hallstatt, and there was just no way we could get there because we didn't have a car or anything. We had come by train. So we ended up having to just stay here and visit the town that was north, Gmunden, and it ended up being like an amazing weekend anyways, even though it was, you know, so messy and stuff. And it was nice because I feel like it reminded me, I felt like it was a reminder from God, like, hey, even though you're gonna try and plan stuff and prepare stuff, it's still not going to always go exactly how you think it's going to go. And I thought that was a good reminder too. And it kind of snapped me out of always trying to envision these places before I visited them, because that would be a lot. You know, I'd be thinking, oh, wow, like thinking about Italy, and then it's different than the reality. So that kind of was a good reminder for me too. Yeah, so very much a highlight. I think it'll be one of the most beautiful places I'll ever visit, probably in my whole life. Yeah, very, very cool. Like I said, I put in here just very briefly, like the exposure I had to other faiths and religions. We learned mostly about the Jewish faith and the Islamic faith. And I feel like it was a great experience, number one, because I, for the first time, got to hear first person perspective from people who practice these faiths and believe these things. And that was a really cool experience for me, and definitely a period of growth, and just like, yeah, a chance for growth, because it made me ask myself much deeper questions and ask myself, you know, why do I believe the things that I believe, and kind of compare, you know, the similarities and the differences between the faiths, and just, yeah, see beauty in things too. It was really amazing, and a different form of learning too, because, you know, I had learned about the 5 pillars of Islam, you know, just sitting in a classroom with a PowerPoint, and it's not the same as hearing a woman you know, take you through a guided tour in a mosque, and tell you why she, you know, feels connected to Allah the way that she does. It's just not the same at all. It's totally different way of learning, and it's a great way too, I think, because it really pushed me to understand my own faith too. But yeah, the Jewish faith, just some random things. I learned more about the talids, I think. I don't know if it's just talid. It's like a prayer shawl that they wear. I learned more about why they wear those, and just to humble them and as reminders. And with the kippas, the little caps that they wear, why they wear those, why the women and men worship differently, worship in separate areas. We got to visit 2 synagogues at different points, and the women sit above in a higher area and the men worship down below. And, you know, we saw that and we were like, that's unusual. But then once they explained it to us, it was like, oh, that's interesting. And then with the Islamic faith, like it was very very eye-opening to have to cover my head to go into a place, and just that brought a lot of reflection. And then 2, learning a lot about the spiritual components, and just the rituals that they do, and how beautiful the cleaning that they do before worship and prayer. I thought that was really neat too, kind of them stepping out of the crazy day-to-day world and focusing on worshiping. I thought that was a beautiful thing too. So just a good experience hearing first-person perspectives, because it definitely, like I said, pushed me to grow and learn about my own faith. Yeah, so I think I have one more slide. I promise I'm almost done. This is long. So I thought the way to end it would be, a lot of people ask me, like, well, what do you feel like you took away from the trip? Like, what are the things that you feel like you learned? And I guess my answer, again, is not simple to that at all, because I feel like I probably learned so much that I won't even know truly until years from now, like the things that I really took from this journey. I wish that, you know, I could explain so much more and tell so many more stories and share more pictures and stuff, but there's just no way. And I feel like I'm still in this processing stage too, where I'm just processing everything that I did and everywhere I went, and, you know, everything that we went through together. So I'm still kind of in that stage too. But right now, I feel like the three things that I can really take from what I learned, one is definitely prayer. I definitely feel like I learned the power in prayer. And just like, you know, I was obviously taught, I grew up in this church, and like I was taught, you know, prayer is a way that you can talk to God. But I feel like I didn't understand that until I went on this trip. And I felt like it's obviously something that I still struggle with every day, making sure that I keep in touch with God and talk with him. But on this trip, it definitely made me realize the power in prayer. And whenever I was anxious, you know, or worried, or thinking about all the unknowns coming up, just like, oh, this big new thing that I've never done before, I would just pray or write it down, and I would feel better afterwards. And I feel like it definitely pushed me to rely on prayer and make it me see it as something, you know, a way to talk to God when he's right there, and he's not this entity that's so far away, you know, that I can't reach. The second thing, definitely strength in fear, which is funny because this package that I got from St. Paul's is this little thing that says, courage doesn't mean you don't get afraid. It means you don't let fear stop you. And I thought that was kind of cool because I had this in my presentation. It's one of the things I 100% learned. My first week there, with the whole emotional roller coaster, as I talked about before, I sat down my friend, who was really my only close friend in that group, and I said, you know, I'm really struggling here. This is just like so much, and I am just so scared. And she said, I have it written down. She said, you know, I'm scared too, but you know what the important thing is here is that even though we're scared, we're still doing it anyways. And I sat there and I was like, you know, you're right. And we were literally sitting in a McDonald's in Salzburg, and she said, you know, I'm scared too, but the thing that matters is that we're doing it anyways. And that was like the first encounter I had with that kind of lesson. But that definitely stuck with me the whole thing, through the whole journey. It made me like retrain myself to think, you know, see the strength within my fear and behind it, and like make me realize that I was accomplishing these things, you know, and then it wasn't bad that I was scared. It was okay that I was scared. So that was great. And then the last thing, what I learned in terms of traveling, a lot of people ask me, I feel like I definitely learned that I love traveling. It's definitely reinstilled my love for travel. And that surprises some people because they're like, you just spent so much time like running around and you want to travel. And I miss it. Like I definitely love traveling, and I recommend it because I feel like I learned that it's so much scarier in your head than it is when you actually do it. And I feel like fear a lot of times keeps people from realizing their dreams of visiting places. It was so much less scary when I was there on my 2 feet visiting those places, you know, thinking about it. It's just so much scarier in your head. So I definitely learned that in terms of traveling, that I just love it. I want to do more of it. I definitely recommend it. I think it's such a great way to learn, and like learn how to listen to other people and listen to for the purpose of understanding their culture, not for anything other than that, you know. So yeah, I think that is it. Wasn't definitely super organized, kind of jumbled and all over the place, but thank you guys for sticking through that. I will stop sharing so that we can talk if we need to. 2 minutes. Okay, yay, okay. I will, let's see if I can get the unmute. Okay, I don't know how to unmute everyone.
I unmuted myself.
Okay, good, thanks.
Other people are going to have to unmute themselves.
Yeah, I don't know if I can
Yeah.
do that. Thank you.
Anna, that was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess if no one has questions, that's totally okay. I know I definitely talked so much. I need to get some water, so.
Yes.
I would think so.
Thank you, Anna. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks so much
Yes.
for listening.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Anne. I'm glad that I had this opportunity because St. Paul's is definitely a reason why I got to go on this trip, so definitely important. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you
Well, I
want to
guess
travel next?
Where do I want to travel next?
Uh-huh.
That's a great question. With everything going on, I feel like I haven't majorly thought about that, but
I wonder why.
well, while we were on the trip, we were just thinking, you know, oh, I want to go here, I want to go there. Like, there's a lot more places in Europe. I'd love to visit like Amsterdam, more of Germany, Switzerland. I didn't get there. Just a lot more countries in Europe. I don't know. Just a lot. I haven't been to Asia yet. I have family in Japan, so I'd love to make it there sometime. Australia, very far away, but I'd love to go there. Yeah, and for Morocco, Marrakesh, I definitely visit again. Some of the other cities, like Fez and Tetuan. Oh, okay. They were a lot less touristy, and I'm glad that I visited because I could see what it was like for locals, and I could really like more understand the culture. But I don't know if I'd necessarily visit those places again. Yeah, I don't know.
You just took me off.
All over, I guess, eventually if I can, but that requires money and lots of
Yeah.
other things. So.
Oh, Dad.
Okay, there's 2 things in here. Oh, okay, Barbara says thank you. Thank you for listening. I don't know if you're still. Hey, Barbara, thank you for listening.
I don't know what happened.
You're welcome. It was great.
You were very stressed about this presentation and you did a wonderful job.
Yes.
There's just not I just couldn't think of a great way to talk about the places, like, or a great way to present it in one big thing, you know, without jumping all over the place and it being, you know, messy. So I don't know. I definitely tried, but.
It was wonderful.
You organized it well.
Yes, I think so too.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, and like I said, don't hesitate
Well,
to
thanks a lot.
email me
Just
or
close it,
whatever
just
people
close
have
it
more
up and go.
questions.